Hello everybody and welcome to our next CG look back, and honestly we're going to be talking about the character who made the biggest impact on the game. I don't think he really needs any introduction at all, but in case you don't know, or you've been living under a rock, or you just didn't look, we're talking about the next CG unit, CG Hyoh. Now, dear God, what can I say about this character? When he came out, when we saw the data for this, well, first of all, when he was revealed in the live stream, we thought, hey, he looks pretty cool. It's kind of a bad guy in the story right now. I gotta say, he looks really interesting. We saw his limit burst. It looked very, very cool. As a matter of fact, let's show it off right now. And so as such, and such as it was, and other ways to turn a phrase, we thought that this guy looked pretty cool. And then we saw the data, and a lot of people jumped to some very quick conclusions. What low percentages he has. This character is absolutely terrible. He looks like a bad Kylo Ren. Actually, he looks kind of like a cool Kylo Ren. But anyway, point is, a lot of people underestimated this guy, because at the time, true dual hand was not really looked at as a positive thing. Yes, Cloud was strong, he had a very strong limit burst, but people still very much believed in dual wield meta. And then this unit came along and people got their hands on it, and then people started trying it. And then very quickly we realized that this unit, well, let's just say on the Japanese side, things were never quite the same. And I gotta say, CG Hyoh is definitely the unit that pretty much, hey, global people, if you're looking for a unit to invest for an incredibly long time, this is basically it. CG Hyoh is not only just, very powerful, he actually has some really cool animations that are still cool this late in the game. Needless to say, this limit burst is just absolutely awesome to look at. And not only that, it's probably still the strongest limit burst in the game, because well, we'll talk about that in a second. But let's go over TMRs. First of all, that's his super TMR. This is one of just the best pieces of armor you can easily get in the game right now. It has a 28 attack, 42 defense, with an extra 30% attack when equipped with a greatsword. Since there are so many greatsword users, this TMR is just one of the best to get your hands on, and one of the best to keep your hands on for the long term. Now, speaking of which, is Super TMR, which is not necessarily the greatest, so don't worry too much if you don't get 4 of him right away. 180 attack greatsword that is not true dual hand. Basically, it's a strong greatsword with no element to it, but it's not necessarily what we are looking for here. Now, when I talk about limit bursts, honestly, really, stupendously, this limit burst is just effing insane, and is still effing insane. Extreme Nova, when maxed out, is a 1900% AoE 30 hit physical attack. Now, AoE is incredibly strong. 1900% isn't necessarily the highest percentage you can find in the game either. But the fact that it hits for 30 hits meant that 2 of these units, 2 7-star versions of these units, could basically clear pretty much any trial in the game and could continually destroy any trial in the game. It's a very, very strong limit burst with no innate element to it, meaning that you could put an element on it and make it even stronger, as we eventually found out with Arngrim's Super TMR, which is still, honestly, insane. Because Arngrim's Super TMR gave a boosted limit burst, it had a high attack, it was true dual hand, and it had the thunder element, which Hyoh just could so to debuff for. Now, he also introduced a brand new type of chaining. Basically, multiple hits. Well, first of all, let's talk just basic stuff. He had a lot of passive in his kit, he had MP regeneration, he had Holy Explosion chaining, which was really strong, seeing how even his 6-star could double cast the abilities, meaning that he could already do more than what dual wield units could, and basically replace dual wield units overnight. He also had an ability that could stat buff remove the enemy, which is still a very, very strong option to have nowadays. He had great sword mastery, and then we got, into his Blade Slave, which is basically a holy explosion hit that hit 6 times for low attacks, which everybody thought was terrible, and it was, but his final hit was just a strong, ignoring 50% defense attack, which made this attack insane, and this type of chaining has been just the most powerful option ever since. He could also remove, stat buffs on himself and, give himself triple casting abilities, which made him even stronger than dual-wield units. And then his 7-star just gave him natural dual-wield bonus for equipping his own TMR, which he'd want on him anyway. His cooldown abilities were strong, hard-hitting abilities that could also debuff for fire and thunder resistance of 100% AoE, which is insanely strong. And there were so many ways, including him getting hit, that he could give himself triple cast for multiple turns. And he could give himself a 200% attack boost and 100% HP recovery with one of his cooldown abilities. Long story short, holy crap was Hyoh incredibly powerful when he came out. And holy crap is Hyoh still powerful. I still see many of this unit in JP friend lists. And honestly, there wasn't any attacker that even came close to him for months upon probably half a year until we finally saw Jet show up. It might have been longer than that, but the point is that when it came to physical attackers, there was nobody better than Hyoh. There was no trial that could ultimately stand up against his Limit Burst. It was so insanely powerful, it was basically an easy button. Hyoh was an easy button. And that's why we have to be careful when we take a look at initial data, because some things can be totally underestimated. And Hyoh's Limit Burst was essentially that. And I have to say, he is, if you're wondering about, hey, global people, should you be pulling for this guy? Yeah, probably. Now that's not to say that global couldn't come out with an exclusive unit that will, maybe match Hyoh or be slightly stronger in between him and Jet. But honestly, value-wise, Hyoh is still a great investment. He's a fantastic investment to pour just all of your stat pots in and just use him for multiple trials. He had great HP, he had, okay, decent defense and spirit. But his attack with a base of 203 and the 7-star, it's no wonder why CG Reagan was just forgotten so quickly. Because when this guy came out, he didn't just kill CG Reagan, he killed the entire dual-wield meta. And that's insanely telling about just how much of an impact a unit can have. So long story short, I gotta say that Hyoh, just an incredibly powerful unit that shaped the general form of the game for the longest time, and could not be power crept for the longest time. Honestly, Hyoh, damn dude, he's still cool. So next time, we get away from the bad guy and we go back to the Veritas units, as we take a look at the Veritas of Light herself as she finally sheds her armor and shows off that, she's got more assets under that armor than we could have ever possibly imagined. So thank you very much, and I will see you guys next time. But I guess the short version of this story, and why there's no key details, is it's frickin' Hyoh. I don't need to say why he's awesome.